Hello, Ambassador in Training. This is a fun one. Aren't they all fun, though? I think so. This one is great because it's demystifying selling travel. And as mentioned, if you've watched some of my other trainings that I've done for some of the other modules, my goal as a coach, as should be your goal, is always to look at what's stopping people from moving forward so that we can figure out what that is and give them a solution so that they can take action and be excited and therefore be successful in their lives. And that's why we're all doing this, right? To help other people be successful. So let's get started. I'm going to start the presentation. Okay, so this is your welcome page. You're saying, hello, everyone. Welcome to Demystifying Selling Travel. I am your wonderful self. And you just give them a little bit about the day. Maybe tell them what the bathrooms are, or if they're at home doing it on Facebook Live, they know where their bathrooms are. So we'll take them to the next screen where we talk about, before the first call and getting their brand out there. And what I like to impress upon them is that the reason why so many people get nervous about selling travel is because they're unprepared. I mean, the reason why you're nervous about anything is usually because you're unprepared, or you just don't know what to expect. So when it comes to not knowing what to expect, like let's say you're waiting for an award show and you're nervous because you don't know if your name is going to be picked, right? But you want to be, so it's like a nervous excitement. But there's a different kind of nervous when it comes to getting up and making a phone call to somebody about selling travel, or for you all, getting up in front of a room full of people. Look, if I was to say to you tomorrow, and this is your first time watching this, all right, tomorrow I want you up there. I don't even want you to watch the rest of this video. I just want you to go up there and present this. You're not going to be 100% confident because you haven't gone through it. You don't know what the next slide is. You don't necessarily know why I want you to do each slide. So preparation is what really makes people feel confident. So let them know that this entire training is designed to help them feel confident and prepared to make those sales. So the first thing, it starts before we even get a phone call. It starts before that phone rings. So we're not going to worry about the phone ringing. We are going to prepare for what to do before that first call. So the first thing we're going to do to prepare is we're going to create a contact list. And this can be a list of everyone they know: family, neighbors, school parents, church group, fraternity, sorority, brothers and sisters, coworkers, childhood friends, plumbers, people with red hair, people who are short, people who are tall. Literally anything that can jog their memory. Have them start putting together a list, because the first thing that stops people is they think, well, I don't know enough people to do this. When you start writing these things down, all of a sudden you realize how many people you actually know. And the reality is you don't need to know a lot of people to get started. You just have to take action to get started, because reaching out is part of what you will be doing to get started. So that's the contact list. Next slide is the elevator pitch. Ooh, I love the angle that I picked there. It just makes me feel like it's very exotic every time I see it. Okay, so the elevator pitch you want to present to them. The way I like to do this when I'm giving the webinar is I say, so basically what an elevator pitch is you being able to say what you do in the time it would take them to go from one floor to the next in an elevator. Or as I put on the slide, things that make them go, Because the elevator pitch that I said, the first way, what takes you to go from one floor to, the next few floors, like what can you say in 30 seconds? That's what they usually give you. So you'll say, okay, so how many of you have an elevator pitch? And you'll pick a few. And if they've never seen this before, they will most likely say things like, well, I'm a travel agent and I love to send people on the vacations of their lives. Okay, that's great. Then you can say, well, how many other people in here are travel agents and people on the best vacation of their lives, right? And everybody raises their hand. So I added this little things that make them go, because that's really what you want out of an elevator pitch. So imagine, tell them that you're in an elevator and somebody, and you strike up a conversation with a person and they say, oh, what do you do? You say, so what do you do? And they say, oh, I'm an accountant. And you're like, oh, great. Oh, very nice. And then they say, well, what do you do? Instead of saying I'm a travel agent, what if you said, well, I'm a certified dream maker? If, they're an IntelliTravel certified dream maker, that's going to make the person go, what's that? And that is when you start to get to really talk about what it is that you do. So something else that you might be is, I'm a graduate of the University of Wow. What's that? So anything that can make them curious and ask more questions, that's really a successful elevator pitch. So when I was one of the things that I do outside of here is I'm a coach for the entertainment industry. So when people would say to me, oh, you're in the entertainment industry, what do you do? And they would expect me to say, I'm an actress, I'm a writer, I'm a director. And I would say, I help people get more work, better work, or different work. And they would say, what does that mean exactly? And I say, well, people who are passionate about their art, their craft, their skill, but don't really understand the business side of the business, I help them get more work than they're getting, if that's what they're looking for, or better work. Maybe they're working non-union work and they want to work union work, or different work. Maybe they've been working in TV for their whole career and they want to do feature films. So that is my personal story and example of how I had an elevator pitch that made people go, So you, as ambassadors, want to come up with your elevator pitch that will make them say, one of our certified ambassadors, she, it's her company's logo. She's Travel. The ambassador is Rachel Young. And so when she was presenting to me, she said, I give white glove service with red carpet treatment. And I was like, what does that mean? If somebody said that to you in an elevator, so what do you do? Well, I give red carpet service with white glove treatment. That's what it was. I give red carpet service with white glove treatment. That would certainly make me go, what does that mean? And then she can say, well, I'm a travel agent and blah, 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 and go on and on. But now she's created this curiosity. Okay, next slide that I want to get them onto is business cards. Now, this is really important for setting themselves up to look like professionals. So you really want to impress upon them how important it is to have business cards. And that is also very important for them to get a business card as much as it is to give. So don't be so quick to do the card barrage, like giving your card out to everyone. It's more important that you create a relationship, have a little conversation and get the business cards from other people. This way you can then follow up with them. Okay, next we have social media. So they should be promoting themselves on social media. They could use travel quotes, personal travel pictures from their own travel. Client travel pictures are always great. Third party, anything you have third party recognition, that's great. Images of locations to get people excited. Supplier posts, IntelliTravel posts they can share. Travel specials and expert questions and answers. So like anytime they have like a blog post that talks about different places you can travel with your dog, that's giving them expert status. So all of these different things. And when you are presenting, you'll have a little bit more time. So when you present to me, if you want to take some time to go into this in a little more detail with them, you certainly can. And of course, I'll be your audience. Next, we have blogging. So they can have their own blog if they're writers, or it could be a photography blog if they like taking photos of places that they've traveled, or if they want to develop themselves as an expert in their, in their state, places that they live, they can literally take photos of restaurants. They can take photos of shops, little fun shops. They can take 2 hour, up to like 2, 4, however far they want to travel, day trips and take photos there, so that, you're really getting people to know this is Georgia. I mean, Georgia's huge. So that might not be the best state to use because they might have to go on some really long drives. But, every summer I spend my summers at least 3 to 6 weeks in Georgia on Lake Lanier. But we've gone to all different places. We've taken 2 hour rides and gone hiking up waterfalls, and we've gone to get, what are the walnuts, boiled peanuts, boiled peanuts. Okay, they're peanuts. The way they say it, much better than I do. And all of you who live in Georgia are laughing at me right now, and it's okay, because if you're laughing, at least you're still engaged. All right, so you can give people who might not feel confident about being writers good ideas for starting a travel blog of photos from their area. And literally, I just made that up off the top of my head. I hadn't been prepared to share that with you, but I just came up with it, which is the beauty of being ambassador to work with me. Whenever we have ideas, we can share them with each other. You can, Zoom me up or Facebook me and say, hey, Jess, I have this idea I want to share in regards to blogging during my ambassador presentation. I just want to make sure it's compliant and cool that I'm sharing this new idea. Is it cool? And I'll be like, yes, cool. Or, hey, let's tweak it this way and then it'll be perfect. So there's their own blog. Then there's the IntelliTravel blog. Now on the IntelliTravel blog, there's two types of, the kind that are geared straight to the travel agent. So they wouldn't be sharing those because those are for them to learn. But then there are the kind that are geared toward everybody who loves travel. And those are the ones that they would share because it establishes them as an expert. And then there are travel blogs like CN Traveler, which is Condé Nast Travel. They can register for their emails and they will get about 2 or 3 a day, but it will give them opportunities to put at least one interesting travel blog a day. And again, they can vary them up. It might be, 10 things to know about, how to pack for the airlines. But it could also be the 5 most beautiful places to visit in the springtime. Or another day might be something like, tips to keep your belongings safe. And another day might be top 20 restaurants to eat at around the world. So, you're getting all different types of subjects. So people are going to keep wanting to come back to your social media sites to see. Now, to see like what you have to say that. So that really establishes you as an expert. Okay, local PR. So this would be, okay, to clarify, I am not suggesting that they try and get onto The View or, ABC News or this is local PR. So local newspapers, local news channels, morning shows, radio programs, podcasts. So my suggestion here is that they always think about what's in it for them. You've got to understand newspapers, morning shows, radio program, podcasters, they all have so much content that they need. They desperately need to fill their content. So what they're, but they want to fill it with things that matter to their audience. So instead of thinking you're going to call them up and be like, hey, I want to be your local travel agent person. There's nothing in that for them. What they need is a good pitch. So best way to do it is to come up with 3 so that they know that you're just not a one-hit wonder. And how do you do that? Go to IntelliTravel.com's blog and come up with 3 different ideas because you can use everything that's written there. The pictures, we have licensed, so don't use those, but unless you're sharing it. But the content, that was written for us, for our agents. So you can say, I have, 3 things I think your listeners would like, because I'm a listener myself on the morning show. So I know that I would love to hear these 5 ways to protect your belongings while you're traveling, whether your personal belongings on you or your belongings at home, like, while you're out of town. Ooh, that's a great idea. Here's, 5 ways to travel with your dogs. I'm sure you've got a lot of people who would love to travel with their pets, and now there's some very fun ways to do it. Or it might be something like the 5 best places to go for your winter vacation. So they might say, oh, those all sound great. Okay, let's do this one. And and then you can literally read off of those bullet points. So that's how they can get themselves some local PR. Next, we have the IntelliTravel tools. So we have Agent Finder through Ensemble, and you should be familiar with that and be able to explain it when you are doing this presentation for me. So just be able to give, you don't spend a lot of time on it, just be able to explain to them what it is. We have our direct mail and email campaigns that are also done through Ensemble's post office, and emails that they can do using our newsletter as well. We have the hot deals, and we have the business builders. So I go into how to use the business builders, and I go into the email campaigns and all of that in getting started as well. So there you go. You can talk in more detail because, again, this is going to be a standalone module. All right, next we have fairs and shows. So like bridal shows, hair shows, small business shows. Most people, they think, okay, I'm a travel agent, I'm going to go to a travel show, but then you're competing with everybody there. So encourage them to go out and find conventions that are happening or trade shows that are happening that complement travel. People there, if it's a bridal show, they might be wanting to plan a wedding abroad. They might be wanting to plan a honeymoon or maybe a bachelorette party. Okay. If it's a hair show, people are getting their hair done and thinking about their hair, but they love to travel. So, hey, we're going to take those gorgeous braids. We should go to Jamaica, so think about, and then like at small business shows, they can be partnering. So in success strategies, we talk about partnering with corporations and small business owners to create group cruises as well as have incentive trips for them. So, if you can come up with more ideas to share with them about different types of shows that might be a good place for them to go, that would be great. Next, we have travel parties, and you have an entire presentation on travel parties. So you'll be able to speak to this really well. But in this particular training, you're not going to go into it in the detail that you would in travel parties. So basically what you'll talk to them about is this is your opportunity to either launch your business to share it with your family and friends, or it's an opportunity to have a regular business meeting. It's not really a business meeting. It's a business meeting for you, but it's a party for them. So like maybe you'll have a monthly travel party and every month it's a different theme. So people get curious. Oh, we talk about this month. Oh, it's Hawaii this month. Oh, it's skiing this month. Oh, it's, spring break for your college. And then adult only planning for you. So it's kind of like you got a little something for the kids, you got a little something for you. So we have some themes here that you can talk about, and you can give them a little bit more detail about why travel parties are so helpful for their business. But again, you're not going to go into the detail during this training about how to host the party. All right, next we have networking. So this is really important, especially for those people. I like to poll them. I like to say, how many of you know more than 200 people? Raise your hand. And then, keep your hands raised if you know more than 1,000 people. Okay, so for all of you who didn't raise your hand at all, who know less than 200 people, that's your goal. You really want to push. So if you worked on your list earlier today and only have 30 people on there, then you have like a good goal to reach for, 200 people. That is literally like 10 people a month for 10 months. And then you get like an extra 2 months just in case, like you haven't hit those. Meeting 10 people a month is not difficult to do when your goal is set on it. So they can go, business partners, charities, community services, meetups, Google network events in your area. So all of these different places are ways that they can find networking events. Okay. Next, we have the phone call. So, oh my gosh, it's the phone call. The phone is ringing. What do I do? And when you have the actual PowerPoint, it will, and then, it shows the phone ringing. So now we're at the first call. Now they're ready. People know who they are. Their brand is out there. They're ready to reach out to the people, or people have reached out to them. They feel confident talking about what they do, and it's time to pick up that call. And what's going to happen is they're going to say, we want to go on a trip. And you're going to be like, fabulous. So we start with the basics, train them on what to ask for, the who, what, where, when, how, and why. So you're going to ask the birth dates for the age at the time of travel. So you want the actual dates versus how old are they? Oh, they're 17-year-old twins. But if they're traveling in 5 months, maybe they'll have had their 18th birthday by then. So make sure it's the birth dates. What kind of vacation do you want to go on? A beach, sightseeing, cruise, shopping? Where do you want to go? Maybe it's multiple destinations. When do you want to go? Would it be flexible? Like, are you a teacher and you have all of the summer off? Maybe there's some good deals then. Or are they like, stuck to like a certain time when they had vacation time? So find out flexibility, because that's going to affect things. Why? Is it a special occasion? Is it a family reunion? You just want some rest and relaxation? All of these things might factor in how you might build it into a group, perhaps. And then how do you want to travel? Do you want to do cruise? Do you want to do all-inclusive? Do you just want to do independent? So once they get those basic questions, then they want to start kind of qualifying a little more deeply. Like, have you been there before? Like, let's say they say, oh, we want to go to wine country in California, in Napa. Well, have you been there before? Yes, we love it. Well, have you been to, wine country in Italy? No. Or have you ever been to wine country? I think in Georgia, there's a wine country somewhere. One of the ambassadors was telling me about, and I was like, really? I didn't know there's a wine country there. So there's different places in the U.S. that they can do wineries. Already been there, maybe they want to try something. Or if they definitely want to go back. Was there anything you did there that you want to repeat? Or is there anything that you missed that you definitely want to see? And then any specific things that they want to include. So they'd find that out. How about booking air? Will you be doing it with miles, or do you need it for you? And then also find out which airports are convenient for the people who are flying. All right, so that is that slide. And then we start to listen. That's when we say, okay, once you've been asking these questions, it's time to listen. Now it's all about picking out the little nuances in what they're saying and how they're saying it. So these are going to qualify your budget. Okay, this is how you get to know your customer. We never recommend they ask the budget question directly. How much is in your budget? Because some people are going to be like, oh, price is no object, because they're trying to look like a good shot, right? But price is definitely an object. Or they might be like, oh, yeah, we want to do it for no more than $1,000, because they're trying to get like the cheapest, but they want to go for 7 days with 3 people for $1,000. I don't know. So they don't know what the prices are, so they might go one way or the other, when in reality, they definitely wanted something in the middle. So instead of asking budget directly, you want to ask them, what hotel brands have you stayed at? Or what vacations have you been on that were your favorites, and why? So if they say to you, well, vacations, we usually stay at like a Motel 6. You can say, okay, so you stay at Motel 6, and what type of places do you go? Well, we stay at the Motel 6 because it's just a place where we're going to be laying our head. But the reason why we do that is so we can spend all of our money. We go to all 5-star restaurants. We pay extra to get like fast passes for all the different, we went to see Elvis's place, and we, spent extra to make sure that we didn't have to go on the tour with everybody else. So now you know that just because they picked a Motel 6 does not mean that they don't have money in their budget to spend. But you do know that the hotel is not the place where they're staying. So like on a cruise, maybe they don't necessarily care if they have a balcony with a view. They'd rather pay less for an inside cabin to be in a nicer ship. So you can say, listen, I can get you a balcony on Royal Caribbean for this much, or on Celebrity for about the same amount. You could have an inside cabin, but the experience on the ship is going to be completely different. So that's how you would do that. Now, of course, if they tell you that they like to stay at the Ritz-Carlton, they get a feeling that, okay, so these people like luxury. They're willing to spend, and they like a high-end experience. If they tell you that they like the Marriott, that's them somewhere kind of in between. Like they like to know that everything's clean, there's really good service, there's probably a nice restaurant in the hotel for them. There's, they have amenities and pools and, room service, all that good stuff. So, they're somewhere in between. So those are the ways that you would qualify. You also want to ask which were not your favorites and why. So they might say, oh, well, I once stayed at, a certain brand of hotel, and I just like everything was like kind of fast service. It's like there was no restaurant, but there was like a snack shop. Like, I don't like that. Like, I want a restaurant. So you'll learn about what they want that way. So that's what you're training them on, is how to qualify their budget and know the customer and what they like and what, that's where we get into what do you consider luxury, what do you consider clean, right? Okay, now before you hang up, you want to train them that they have to do these things first. I know it seems obvious, but make sure they know that they have got to get the best way to get contact information so that, they can follow up with them. And make sure it's the way that they would like to be followed up with. Don't forget to reassure and create confidence. I'm an expert and I have expert resources. I could build the best possible trip for you. So give me, 48 hours and then let me come back to you. This way, they're not going to go looking for something else on their own. If you give them a time, give me 48 hours, they'll sit back and be like, okay, why should I spend my time doing it? All right, timing is everything. Act fast. If you tell them that you're going to do 48 hours, try and do it in 24. All right, because the faster you can get back to them, the better. And then we call it E+ customer service. All right, the initial quote. All right, that's when we come to them, and here's some tips. Start with our preferred partner because they're going to give you the best rates, right? Get help from the agent support and partner, the support group, wedding, honeymoon departments, whatever it is. Explain to them how, if they've never done it before, they can call up our preferred partners and they will help them. Is it better to talk to them in person or email when you're delivering that quote? Sometimes when when you see them, they're like, ooh. But if they're on in email, you don't see the reaction. So like they might just not write back to you. Whereas if you saw them go, ooh, then you're like, okay, you can say, well, what's making you make that face? Like, is it more than you expected? Or is it not like the place to go? Then you can kind of have a conversation. And when I say, in person, that might even mean via FaceTime or Zoom, where you can see their expression. Make sure that you're giving 3 price quotes, the low, the middle, the high. I go into great detail on that in success strategies. Options, classes of room and service and cabin and seat. Those are all different things that should go into the quote. Sell value, not price. Again, I go into great detail about that and success strategies as well. Include travel insurance from the start, and you can explain to them why that, you want it in there beforehand. We don't want to have a Best Buy situation where you're coming after the fact and like, no. Make sure your commission is included in everything. All right, so explain to them how to book a commissionable rate. Make sure they are not booking as a consumer. They may need some explanation on that, and feel free when you're practicing with me to go into detail on that. And then to use multimedia for follow-up. You use photos, links, videos, and brochures, to get them really excited. All right, so next we have refining the quote. Do all the passengers have a valid passport good for 6 months after trip? If not, let's know that you can help them with expedited passport visa services. Transfers or rental cars, are those necessary? Meals, entertainment, airport meet and greets, shore excursions, sightseeing tours, show and event tickets, private driver or guides. These are all the add-ons that we talk about in success strategies. So you can take the time to go into more detail about them if you want to. If you want to hear how I do it, watch the success strategies training. Okay, closing the sale. Confirm all the details and information verbally. Repeat it back. Have them repeat it back. Make sure that everyone's on the same page. Make sure you're sending them cancellation policies in writing. This protects you. Especially, and also any legal disclosures providers, make sure you send those in writings as well. Make sure that credit card authorization form is filled out. We talk about why and getting started. Insurance waiver. Make sure that that is getting filled out if they're not going to use it. As we talked about in getting started, why it's so important to use travel insurance. And as we talk about success strategies, why it can be used as a closing tool to actually close people when they are like giving you objections. And the answer is always travel insurance, right? Because, hey, you can cancel for any reason. Make sure that the passenger names are exactly as they are in government documents. My driver's license doesn't have my middle name on it, but my passport does. So, and some people, they shorten their name and everybody knows them by Sam, but maybe her full name is Samantha. So you got to be careful about those. birth dates and passport numbers. Make sure they are correct. I had and you can share this story with them. Say, hey, I don't know how many of you know Jessica over in Teletravel, but she was doing an MSC cruise, and she filled beforehand. And you would think that because she works for IntelliTravel, she would have checked her documents beforehand. But, she just figured since she input everything that it was done correctly. Well, the night before I went on the MSC cruise, I went to download my documents, and I realized that they had me born in 1958. Or no, 1957, and I wasn't even born in November. So I'm like, I never would have put that in. Why would I have put in my wrong birthday? Like something happened. All right. But in the meantime, it was too close. It was the night before. So I'm like writing to my BDM, and she's already on the cruise ship, and because it was the inaugural trip. And so it was a big mess. Now, luckily, I was able to get on because we weren't, we were just kind of doing going out to sea overnight and then coming back in. So we weren't leaving U.S., territory, but it could have been, I could have missed a cruise, and that would have been unfortunate. So, just warn them. Okay, make sure that you've got the room, the cabin, seat selection preferences all set up. And then the master technique is to turn one sale into 2 or 3 or more. So, for example, I had friends who booked their own 25th anniversary cruise on Norwegian. And I said, what? I'm a travel agent. Why would you do that? And she's like, well, I book our cruises all the time. I'm like, well, I bet I could get you a better deal. And she's like, really? I was like, yeah, give me the information. And actually, this is the first book. So she gave me her information. I was at a Dreammaker event. I showed it to Mary Sue, and she's like, oh, yeah, I could do it much better. I'll do an affinity group for them. And I was like, even though there's only 2 of them? She's like, yeah. I'll just, book them into the affinity group. And if it's only 2 of them, then they'll just get all these amenities, and it will be this much less and the whole thing. And they're like, well, insurance, we travel insured, which was cheaper than the Norwegian travel protection, and it was a better policy. But then they said to them, hey, since you're doing this, why not ask your friends and family, since I got you such a great deal? Look, you don't have to hang out with them the whole cruise, but maybe you have one celebration dinner all together. And then they were able to open that up to their friends and family, and that's how you turn one sale into 2, 3, 4, or a big group. Okay, so it's who else do you know that might want to go on this trip? Then after the sale, it doesn't stop there. After the sale, great customer service doesn't end there. We keep them excited because they could get buyer's remorse. So immediately start sharing with them articles, updates, destination information, cool videos, restaurant recommendations, anything you can do to keep them excited. And then help smooth the travel process 30 days out. So online cruise or hotel check-ins, if you can help with that, that would be great. Flight check-in and seat adjustments, making sure that they're taken care of there. Any dining and entertainment advanced registrations that you can help with, and luggage tags. All those things are great. During the trip, if it makes sense, send flowers or a gift out of your commission. So listen, if you book them for a Marriott hotel for one night, you're not going to be making very much commission. So you're not going to have, champagne in the room. But if you book them on a Crystal cruise for 10 days, it'd be nice to have some flowers in the room or a bottle of champagne, right? Because you're going to be making a nice commission. So you decide, what's in your price point, and you can talk again to the to our preferred partner people, and you don't necessarily DM for that. You could just call the sales support and say, listen, I'm the travel agent. I'd like to have something nice in the room. What are some things I can do in like the $20 range or the $50 range, whatever it is for you. And then you can text them. Now, what I like to do is I like to text something that would say something like, just checking in to make sure you're having a great time. Checking in to make sure everything's okay. Because if it's not, then you can fix it. But you're also not opening yourself up to a whole list of grievances, hopefully, all right? And so, do that to show that you're thinking about them. All right. After the trip, the job's not over yet. You want to have a call with them. How was your trip? A website doesn't do that. And then this is really important. A handwritten thank you note. mean, how many people do that these days? Not many. Remember back in the days when email first started, and we get all this junk mail in the mail. We hate the mail, but we'd hear, "You got mail," and you like run. You're so excited. Now all everybody does is email. So like when you get something now, like I get so many Christmas cards via like, email things, right? And I have to click on them and they open up. So when I get like those 5 from friends and family that send me the pictures of their family, and I keep them up all year, like I love it. So these days, something handwritten is great. This is your time to ask for referrals. They just came back. They're on a high. Hey, do you know anybody else who you think would love to travel? I'd love to take the same kind of A+ service that I take it with you, and I would reward you with some 3-day 2-night getaway incentive or whatever it might be. Within 30 days of return, when most people are likely to commit, ask next trip, or they can book on board the cruise for a discount. Make sure you're protecting your commission. I mean, in most cases, they do, but just know the cruise line that they're going on and know what their policies are. And then keep a history and file and calendar of birthdays, anniversaries, next trips, because it's always so like, oh my goodness, my travel agent remembered my anniversary. That's so nice. I didn't even know that they knew that. Check on Facebook, when are their birthdays, all that good stuff. Well, you know when their birthdays are because you have it on their customer profile sheet that you needed to make sure that you had their birth date, not how old they were. And then what's going to happen? They're going to think of, when the phone rings, and you'll have this on your PowerPoint, the phone's going to ring. They're going to think about all the places they can send them. They're going to think about all the memories they're going to create, and they're going to think about all the money they're making. Whoop, whoop. And then you thank them very much. And that's that. So I just did that in about 36 minutes, and that was just an explanation. But you're going to go into a lot more depth. You'll tie in the exercises. So this is definitely one of the longer presentations, and I look forward to seeing you present for me. All right. See you soon.